Greetings, it's Iain from RTO here. Welcome to Friday. It's live album ranking day today. And today we're going to look at David Bowie and the Posthumous live albums. Now, sadly, on the 10th of January 2016 we lost David to liver cancer. But it didn't stop his estate and the company releasing some great live music of David. A lot of it was released on record store days. Since he is passed, there's been 13 live albums, and most of them are pretty good. There's, David was a great performer, and he never really put a bad performance. It was very hard to do this because they're all got their highlights. So we've got 13 to go through, so we'll get cracking. So coming in at number 13 is an album called ChangesNowBowie. Now these were recorded in 1996 and they were initially recorded for a BBC broadcast on Bowie's 50th birthday. Released for streaming on the 17th of April 2020 and was a limited release on record store day that year in August. And these recordings were made at the Looking Glass Studios in New York, and they're very stripped back songs of some of his classics. David Bowie was vocals, Iain Dorsey played the bass and vocals, and Reeves Gabriel's guitar. Reeves of course worked with him in Tin Machine as well. So basically we have an acoustic sort of set. It's a pretty good album actually. It opens up with The Man Who Sold the World, and we have Aladdin Sane, and then they do a version of the Velvet Underground's White Light and White Heat. Then we have a track from Tin Machine, and they do Shopping from Girls, which is from Tin Machine 2. Lady Stardust, of course, on the Ziggy Stardust and Spiders of Mars. We go back to The Man Who Sold the World, and we have a version of the Superman. Repetition from Lodger, Andy Warhol from Hunky Dory, and Quicksand from Hunky Dory. Do I consider this a live album because it's done in a studio? They're playing live. It's a pretty good album, in all honesty. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 12 is an album that's called Dallas, Texas, Ouvrez le Chien, live in Dallas 95. Now this was recorded in October 1995 and it was released in July 2020 as a stream and then vinyl on 30th October 2020, and it's recorded in the Starplex Amphitheatre, Dallas, Texas, USA. So the full band is David Bowie on vocals, Reeves Gabriel's on guitar, Carlos Alomar on guitar, Iain Dorsey on the bass, Zach Alford on drums, Mike Garson on the piano, and Peter Schwartz synthesizers. Now there's quite a lot of tracks from outside on here because this was sort of that tour. He opens up the set with Look Back in Anger from Lodger. Really good version of it. Then we have a few tracks from outside itself. We have The Hearts, Filthy Lesson, The Voyeur of Utter Destruction, and I've Never Been to Oxford Town, which is pretty good. And then outside itself, good version of that. Then we have Andy Warhol from Hunky Dory, which is pretty good. Breaking Glass from Low, The Man Who Sold the World. Now, when he does some of his older ones, he changes from the album version, which is quite good in places. It's really good. Then back to Outside for We Prick You and I'm Deranged. Then we have a track that doesn't get done as much, and that's Joe the Lion from Heroes. Then there's the Scott Walker number Night Flights, which was on his Black Tie White Noise album. Then they do a version of Under Pressure, of course, is from Hot Space by Queen. And the set ends with Teenage Wildlife from the Scary Monsters and Super Creeps album. Yeah, it's a good album. Solid musicians. It is just a really good album. Some of the sound's a little bit off on this one, but it's still a good album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, then coming in number 11. Now, the previous album and this album was actually off an album, a box set that came out. And I can't remember what it's called because I hadn't put it there. Well, I'll tell you when we get to it, but it was part of a box set as well. But it was also released as a single album, and it's called No Trendy Life, Live in Birmingham '95. Same tour as the Dallas. Same thing, it came out as a stream and then out as an album, and it was done at the big Twix Mix show at the NEC in Birmingham, and in 1995 in December. And it's the same people playing, but we've got George Sims on keyboards and backing vocals, so it's basically the same set. Look Back in Anger, but this one has got Scary Monsters and Super Creeps actually on it as well, and they do Halo, Space Boy from Outside on this, When Strangers Meet, The Man Who Sold the World, The Motel from Outside, Jump They Say from Black Tie, and the encore on this one, they did Under Pressure Rowers, Moon Age, Daydream from Ziggy Stardust, and We Prick You from Outside, and another version of Halo, Space Boy. Very similar tracks, as I said, to the Dallas gig, but there's a couple of different sort of things. But I think the sound's pretty good on this. Now, the NEC has always been a good place to record live stuff. I've got quite a lot of stuff recorded at the NEC on video and DVD and album. So this is out of the two concerts, I do prefer this one, and I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.1. Okay, coming in at number 10, we have got an album called Look at the Moon, live in Phoenix Festival 1997. This came out in 2021, and it was recorded at show at the Phoenix Festival, Long Marsden, England, and it's part of the Earthling tour, which is not my particular favourite Bowie album. So we got David Bowie doing the vocals and alto and baritone saxophone, Reeves Gabriel as ever on the guitars, the ever reliable bass player Gail Ann Dorsey, Zach's on the drums, and Mike Garson. Now this opens up with Quicksand from Hunky Dory, one of my favourite tracks off Hunky Dory. The Wonderful, The Man Who Sold the World, a little bit different. Then we have a cover of Johnny Moore's Drifting Blues and a bit of the Genie from Aladdin Sane. I'm Afraid of Americans from Earthlings. Yeah, not a great fan of that. Battle of Britain, The Letter from Earthling. No, it doesn't even sound good live. Fashion sounds great up from Scary Monsters. I do like that. 7 Years in Tibet. Yeah. Fame from Young Americans is really good live. Looking for Satellites, it's alright, I suppose. Then we have Dead Man Walking, Little Wonder. Halo Space Boy's in there, that's not too bad. And then they do a cover of, remember Oh Superman by Laurie Anderson? I don't never like the song, and I don't like it on here. Don't know why they did that, but there you go. And it finishes with Stay from Station to Station. Really good album. I just don't like the Earthling song because I don't like that drum and bass sound. But I like it. I mean, but what I will say about them songs, they do create them as they were on the album, which a lot of dance bands can't. So I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in number 9, we go back now. We go way back to an album called Cracked Actor that was recorded in Los Angeles back in 1974, and this got released on Record Store Day in 2017. So it was recorded on the 5th of September in 1974. So you've got David Bowie on vocals, Earl Slick on guitar, Carl Almore on the rhythm, Mike Garson's on the piano and mellotron, Dave Sanborn on alto sax and flute, Richard Grando on the baritone saxophone and flute, Doug Raunch on bass, Greg Erico drums, Pablo Rosario percussion, Guy Ansana on backing vocals, lots of backing vocals here, Warren Peace, Ava Cherry, Robin Clark, Andy Hinton, Diane Sutner and Luther Vandross, yes, Gesundheit, well that's better. Okay, this opens up with a great track from Diamond Dogs, 1984. There you go, straight into Rebel Rebel. Oh, then we get Moon Age Daydream. So, okay, apart from being off the Ziggy album, it was a single by Arnold Corns. Then we get Sweet Thing Candidate, a little reprise from Diamond Dogs. Changes from Hunky Dory, great version of that. A really great version of Suffragette City. Oh, I've got a cough, frog in my throat today. From Ziggy. Aladdin Sane. I've got a bit of coffee left. Oh yes, wonderful. Oh, dearie me. Then we have Aladdin Sane itself, which is good. Then he does All the Young Dudes. Although he didn't record it, he wrote it, so why not? Then we go back to Diamond Dogs, A Future Legend. Absolutely brilliant. We stay with that album with Big Brother and the Chant of the Ever Circus Skeletal Family. Brilliant live. Absolutely killer track. Back to Aladdin Sane for Time. Stay with that for a bit of the Genie. Rock and Roll. Suicide from the Spiders of Mars album. Brilliant track. And then John, I'm Only Dancing, which was a single, of course, to end the show. It's a great set, but the quality is not there, unfortunately. But I do like this album. I really do, because it's got a lot of Diamond Dogs on it, and it's a great album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.6. Number 8. This is just called Live in Berlin, 1978. This was released to coincide with the David Bowie exhibition at Brooklyn Museum in 2018, and it was only sold via the museum shop. But it's on Spotify. If you haven't got it and you'd like to listen to it, it is on Spotify. So on here we have vocals and Chamberlain, Mr. David Bowie. Bass guitar is John Murray. Drums is Dennis Davis. Electric violins, Simon House. Roger Powell's on keyboards and synths. The one and only Mr. Adrian Bello on the guitar. Carlos Almore's on guitars as well. Sean Mays is on synths and piano. This one opens up with a great version of Heroes, which is always a good track. Then we go to Low for a bit of Be My Wife. Really good version of it as well. Blackout from Heroes, another good rendition of that song. We stay with Heroes for a bit of Sense of Doubt. Well, then we pop over to the Low album for a bit of Breaking Glass. A little bit of Fame from Young Americans, then the single Alabama Song. And we end up with Rebel Rebel from Diamond Dogs. Great versions, lack of crowd noise. Which is a bit strange, but forget about the there's no crowd on it. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because the songs are brilliant. Okay, coming in at number 7, we have Welcome to the Blackout, live in London in '78. So it's a very, very similar set to the one in Berlin. This was a limited vinyl release in 2018 for Record Store Day, and it was recorded at Earls Court between the 30th of June and 1st of July 1978. It's the same lineup on the stage: David Bowie, Adrian Bello, Carlos Amor, George Murray, Dennis Davis, Roger Plays, Simon Mays and Simon House. Now this is a little different to the Berlin. It opens up with Warsaw from Low. I love this track and it's brilliant live. Straight into Heroes. What in the World from Low. Pretty cool tracks. Then Be My Wife from Low, the Genie, and then a great version of Blackout, Censored Out, both of them. Heroes, Speed of Life from Low, which is probably the best version I've got of that. Sound and Vision's brilliant on here. Breaking Glass, another great track from Low. Fame, always good live, more atmosphere. Beauty and the Beast from Heroes, it's fantastic to hear that. 5 Years, a lovely version of that from Ziggy. We Stay with Ziggy for Soul Love, unbelievable version of that. Start from Ziggy, Hang On For Yourself from Ziggy as well, and Ziggy itself and Suffragette City, so you've got lots of stuff off the Ziggy album, which is pretty cool. And then we have Art Decade from Low, the Alabama song, the single Station to Station, which is absolutely fab. Then we stay with Station to Station for TVC 15. Get it out, Iain. I like that track. Stay. Rebel Rebel ends the show from Diamond Dogs. Pretty good album. Some of the classics, they've rearranged them a bit. Still very, very good album. And I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 7.2. Number 6. This is Something in the Air, live in Paris in 1999. It was released in 2021 as a vinyl, but in 2020 it came out on the stream, and it was recorded on the 19th of October 1999 at the Elysée Montmartre in Paris. So it's David Bowie on guitar, on vocals, and acoustic guitar. Reeve Gabriel's does the lead. For this at the 20, anything. And Paige Hamilton does guitars as well. Mark Platty on rhythm, Gail and Dorsey on the bass, Sterling Campbell on the drums, Mike Garson as ever on the keyboards, Holly Palmer backing vocals along with M. Grier. We start off with Life on Mars. That's a really nice version of it from Hunky Dory. Then we pop over to the Hours album for a couple of tracks. We have Thursday's Child and Something in the Air. Pretty good. Station to Station for a bit of Word on the Wing. I like that version. And then he does Can't Help Thinking About Me, which was the first single that he released as David Bowie back in 1966. China Girl, which he did for Iggy Pop, and it's on the Let's Dance album. That's a great version of it. Always Crashing the Same Car. A lot better live than the studio, I think. I really like that. Then we go back to Hours for Survive. It's a really strong track. We go for a bit of Drive-In Saturday from Aladdin Sign. Wonderful version. Changes from Hunky Dory. 7 from Hours. Repetition from Lodger. I Can't Read. A Tin Machine song. The Pretty Things from Hours, and Rebel Always is a good ending for the show. I really like this album. It's a small venue. It's very similar to the VH1 Storytellers, but there's more tracks on this. It's a great little album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, coming in at number 5 is Gladstonbury 2000. And it's taken from the headline spot at Glastonbury in 2000 on the 25th of June. Now, it didn't come out in its entirety till 2020, but back in them days, BBC only sort of highlights, and I remember watching this, and it was on, and I thought it was brilliant, and it was shown in its entirety in 2020, and it's absolutely brilliant. So on here you've got David Bowie on vocals, lead guitars Earl Slick, Mark Platty on the rhythm, Galan Dorsey on the bass, drums is Sterling Campbell on this one, Mike Garson on the keyboards and piano, and we've got Holly Palmer and M. Grier doing the backing vocals. This starts off with a little introduction of Greensleeves, played by Mr. Mike Garson. And then it goes into Wild as the Wind. Now, Wild as the Wind is a song written by Ned Washington for the film Wild as the Wind. Johnny Mathis recorded it as well. So you get this little version of that, which is pretty good. And it was then done on Station to Station by David Bowie. Then we get China Girl, which was actually on the Iggy Pop album The Idiot, and then it was on Let's Dance, and it's a great version of it. Changes from Hunky Dory, I love that track, and it's really good on here. Stay, wonderful. Life on Mars from Hunky Dory, you know, all the classics aren't here. Absolute Beginners from the film Absolute Beginners, it's a great version of it. Then we have a brilliant version of Ashes to Ashes from Scary Monsters. Rebel Rebel from Diamond Dogs. Little Wonder from Earthling, not very keen on that. But I do like the Golden Years from Station to Station on here. It's absolutely a killer version. We got Fame from Young Americans. Then we have a bit of All the Young Dudes. The Man Who Sold the World. Station to Station itself. Starman, what a version of that it is. Halo Space Boy, which is never my favourite thing. Bit of Under Pressure, Ziggy Stardust, Heroes, and probably the best version of Let's Dance. And it ends with I'm Afraid of Americans, which is not my favourite sort of thing. This is a fabulous album. Really like listening to this one. And I will give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, number 4 is Serious Moonlight. Now, it was recorded in Vancouver in 1983. It was released as a DVD, and then it came out as an album in 2006. And I haven't got much information about this, so we'll just go on to the tracks. It opens up with Look Back in Anger, Lodger, great track. Heroes, What in the World from Low, Golden Years, another cracking version of it. Fashion, brilliant. Let's Dance, solid track as ever. Breaking Glass, Life on Mars, Sorrow, which is a McCoy song, and it was on his covers album Pin-Ups. Then we have probably the best version of Cat People, Putting Out the Fire from Let's Dance. Much better live, got more energy. China Girl's on here, you can't go wrong with that. Scary Monsters is a great track. And this one ends with a Rebel again on that out on to end at disc 1. Disc 2 opens up with the Velvet Underground White Light and White Heat cover, brilliant. Station to Station, cracked actor from Aladdin, same. What a version of that. Bit of Ashes to Ashes, always like that. Space Oddity from, of course, David Bowie. Young Americans from the Young Americans, of course. Stay with that album for a bit of fame, and then a great version to end the album with Modern Love and Let's Dance. Really good album. The Let's Dance out tracks are far better live than in the studio, I think. This is an excellent album, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.7. Okay, coming in at number 3, we've got Live at the KitKat Klub in New York. It was released in 2021, and it's a part of the Hours tour. Playing on here, we've got David Bowie, Reeves, Gabriels, Page, Hamilton, Mark Platini, Gail Ann Dorsey, Sterling Campbell, Mike Garson and Holly Palmer and M. Grader in the backing vocals. It's basically the same package as one of the other albums we've looked at from '99. It's got Life on Mars from Hunky Dory, Thursday's Child, Something in the Air, China Girl, Can't Help Thinking About Me, which is a single that David Bowie did with the Lower Third, Always Crash in the Same Car, Survive, Driving Saturday, Stay 7, Changes, Cracked Actor, Ashes to Ashes, Repetition, then Things Are Pretty, Going to Hell from Hours, Rebel Rebel, and I'm Afraid of Americans. I think the two 99 concerts that are in this looked at, this is the better one, the sound's better. It's in a small venue and it's got more atmosphere, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, number 2 is an album that was released for Record Store Day on 2020, but it was actually recorded in 1974, and it's called I'm Only Dancing, the Soul Tour, and it was recorded on the Diamond Dogs tour of 74. So it's David Bowie, Earl Slick on guitar, Carlos Amor, Mike Garson, David Sanborn, Pablo Rosario. It's alright, I'm having problems. I think my battery in my mouse is dying. And lots of people on backing vocals. So we have an introduction in the memory of the Free Festival. Straight into Rebel Rebel. Whoa. John, I'm Only Dancing. Great little single. Sorrow from Pin-Ups and the McCoys. Changes, great version. A corking version of Diamond Dogs again. Then we have Moon Age Daydream. Rock and Roll Me from Diamond Dogs, which is one of my favourites. Then we have a bit of Beatles, a bit of Love Me Do before it goes into the Genie. Bit of Young Americans, can't go wrong there, can we? Can You Hear Me from Young Americans, which is a really good version. It's Gonna Be Me, Somebody Up There Likes Me from Young Americans, Suffragette City, Wham Bam, Thank You Ma'am, Rock and Roll Suicide from Ziggy, Panic in Detroit from Aladdin Sane, another great version. Knock on Wood, the old Eddie Floyd number. And then we do Foot Stomping, which I could shimmy like my sister Kate. Absolutely brilliant. Diamond Dogs mixed in with a bit of It's Only Rock and Roll, but I like it from the Stones. Another little gem here from David. I love this, the songs, some of the songs that would end up on the Young Americans, because it hadn't been released, if you've got to remember when this came out. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. But my number one, and I just love listening to this, it was recorded at the Nassau Coliseum in 1976 on the Station to Station tour, and it was released in September 2010. And it is David Bowie, Carlos Amor on guitars. We've got Stacey Hayden on guitars on this one. George Murray on the bass, Tony Kaye on keyboards, Dennis Davis on drums. So this opens up with an 11-minute version of Station to Station, which is absolutely brilliant. Straight into a bit of Suffragette City, great track from, as I know, from Spiders of Mars album. Then we have a bit of Fame, brilliant version of that. Word of a Wing from Station to Station, Stay, love that. Then we have a track, I do another Lou Reed track, Waiting for the Man, which is on the Velvet Underground and Nico album. Then we have one of my favourite tracks from Hunky Dory, Queen Bitch, love that track. And we stay with the Hunky Dory album with a bit of Life on Mars. Then we Slow It Down from the Ziggy, 5 years. Panic in Detroit from Aladdin the Same, but they've edited out the drum solo. Changes, and then you get the band intro. TV C15, Diamond Dogs itself, and Rebel Rebel, and we end the evening with a bit of Genie. It's just a great live album. All the classics are on here. They're all done. They're all raunchy and rocky. Absolutely brilliant album. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, was probably one of the longest live album rankings, but they are really good albums. It was very hard because I do like all of them. They've all got, as I said, they've all got some highlights on there. Okay, coming up next, we've got a one-off album, and it sort of tidies up Susie and the Banshees, Susie Sue sort of thing we've been doing, and it's the solo album that she put out called Manta Ray, which is an absolutely brilliant album. So we'll be looking at very soon. Bye for now.